Welcome to the MAT Customization Overview and Optional Step 17. Configure MAT Database and enable REST API video. After a successful installation, you have Mainframe Application Tuner or MAT and its Performance Management Assistant or PMA component installed on your site. You perform separate customization procedures for MAT and PMA. The MAT customization includes the following stages. 1. Mandatory customization, steps 1 through 8. 2. Optional customization, steps 9 through 15 to configure subsystems. 3. Optional installation and configuration of the MAT graphic user interface. And 4. Optional configuration of the MAT database and REST API. In this video, we'll focus on the optional configuration of MAT database and REST API. The MAT customization application is called trcust. To run the trcust application, use the trcust member that you can find in the library shown here. You define the MAT high-level qualifier during the installation of MAT. For example, if your MAT high-level qualifier, or HLQ, is apm.qatt.matcust, you can start trcust by executing the command shown from the ISPF interface. When started, trcust prompts you to provide an HLQ for all MAT libraries that will be created during the MAT customization process. We recommend that you use the same HLQ that you define for MAT during the installation, in this case, apm.qatt.matcust. Press Enter to continue. Issue the S-line command to resume MAT customization. The list of MAT customization steps shows the completion status of each step. Successfully completed steps are marked with the plus sign. Optional customization steps are marked with the flag O. For optional customization steps, you do not have to preserve the order of step execution, with the exception of Step 13, which requires that Step 11 is already completed. Step 17. Configure MAT database and enable REST API. In this step, you deploy and configure the MAT database software, which allows you to automatically replicate the MAT measurements in an external Datacom database instance. In this step, you also enable the MAT REST API that makes the replicated data accessible for external applications. MAT database and REST API prerequisites. The MAT database and REST API functionalities are enabled by Java-based software. The REST API application runs under Apache Tomcat Server. Before you execute this customization step, ensure that your site meets the following prerequisites. Java 8, 64-bit, is installed on your system. Apache Tomcat Server version 8.5 or later is installed and configured. A Datacom database instance, Datacom AD or DB, is installed and configured. Move the cursor to Step 17 and issue the S-line command. Type Yes to proceed with configuring the MAT database. MAT supports the integration with Datacom database types AD and DB. At this time, we will configure an integration with a Datacom AD database. Review and update, if necessary, the details of your Java installation, the version, and the Java path. Press PF3 to proceed. Specify the details of the USS paths and the low-level node of the ZFS file data set names for the mount points where you want MAT to deploy the database software and store the dump files. Specify the details that determine the size of the ZFS mount point and the MAT database, and define the target library and member name where MAT saves the ZFS file allocation job. Review the contents of the MAT day lock JCL and submit the job. Now, provide the details of the database instance that you want to connect to MAT. Specify the parameters of your Datacom product datasets. Refer to your Datacom installation and configuration details. Specify the parameters of your Datacom database server and the HLQ for Datacom area datasets. MAT attributes this prefix to all Datacom area datasets that MAT creates for the database operation. Define the parameters for the automated data deletion job that clears from the database the measurements older than the defined period of time. Press PF1 for help or refer to the MAT documentation. Optionally, you can establish an integration with Endeavor REST API, which enables MAT to gather program listings from Endeavor, replicate the listings in the MAT database, and enhance the use of the histogram in the MAT REST API with references to the program listings. To skip this step, you can type no. MAT recommends that you configure a secure HTTPS connection if you plan to use the MAT REST API outside a private network. If you have configured the MAT GUI in the customization step 16, MAT uses the same Tomcat directory for the REST API application. Otherwise, MAT prompts you to specify the Tomcat directory for the new installation and perform the initial configuration of the Tomcat server instance as in step 16. In this case, we use the existing Tomcat installation. Define the target library and member name where MAT will save the startup JCL for the Tomcat web server that facilitates the operation of the MAT REST API. Review the details of the MATD server member that starts the Tomcat server, then save the member. Define the target library and member name where MAT will save the JCL for the software deployment job, MATD deploy. Review the contents of the MATD deploy JCL and submit the job. Specified whether you want the database ZFS file repository to be remounted after a system IPL. We specify no at this time. Review the required post-customization actions and maintenance recommendations. The MAT customization step 17 is now successfully completed. Now run the required post-customization jobs. 1. APF authorize the Datacom libraries. 2. Start the Datacom multi-user facility or MUF. 3. Start the Datacom server. 4. Create the initial database space. Only if you are integrating this Datacom database instance with MAT for the first time. You can find the APF authorization JCL in the Datacom installation library. Start Datacom MUF using the job that is also located in the Datacom installation library. In the same library, you can find the Datacom server startup job. Finally, submit the MATDADAL job that creates the initial database space in the Datacom database instance that you have connected to MAT. You can find the MATDADAL job in the MATDB-JCL lib library. Step 17. Configure MAT database and enable REST API. After you complete all the required post-customization actions, you have the MAT database configured. With this configuration, after each measurement, MAT automatically replicates the data from the monitor datasets to the database. The measurement data is available via the MAT REST API that runs under Apache Tomcat server. The base URL includes the protocol type, HTTP or HTTPS, the base path and port number, as defined for your Apache Tomcat server, and the /ca mat/API/version/ca mat postfix, as shown in this example. The configuration of the MAT database and REST API is now completed. For more information and feedback, visit techdocs.broadcom.com/mat.